We're at ARPA-E's Energy Innovation Summit. Coming up is an address from the 42nd President of the United States, Bill Clinton.
We're the only major country in the world that has one political party where apparently it's ideologically imperative to deny the reality of climate change. The evidence that we now have that is abundant that investments in changing the way we produce and consume energy can launch an enormous economic boom for our country and for the world. And the fact that even when the government's role is uncertain, we have this huge venture capital machine in America that continues to invest in clean energy, almost $56 billion in 2011 alone. The sector continued to grow through 2008 and 2009 when the economy was suffering. Also, the recent spike in gas prices reminds us of the fragility of relying on just the way we used to do things, not to mention the increasingly apparent costs of fossil fuels on our health and our ecosystem. The first challenge you face is to try to close the gap between the trend lines, which for you are exciting and thrilling and good, and the headlines, many of which could have been written 100 years ago now. There is a citizenship component here which requires us to raise the knowledge level of our citizens and the intensity level of their understanding that our economic future is not threatened by what you're doing. It depends on the success of what you are doing. We need more innovation to implement what works now in the low-hanging fruit area. And I'll just give you a couple of examples. We should give the companies a choice. If you want to do whatever you want with the money, pay the long-term capital gains rate until we change the corporation law, because they're eventually going to we'll have to treat them the way everybody else does. We can't be the only country in the world that taxes this money differently than other countries. If you want to bring it back for free, you can, but you have to put it into the infrastructure bank, where you will get good guarantees returns, and we will have the capital necessary, among other things, to modernize the transmission system so that we can put the energy where the people are. The Secretary of State recently announced an initiative with 6 countries, 3 developed countries, 3 developing countries, to work to reduce methane gas, black carbon, mostly from burning charcoal and cook stoves, and CFCs, which disperse into the atmosphere much more rapidly than carbon. This is hugely important. If we could do this on a systematic global basis, it would buy us maybe 20 more years to avoid the worst calamities of climate change, while all of you come up with great new ideas, some of which will really work and make a huge difference. I don't think there should be any open landfill in any big city in the United States of America, not one. The Empire State Building recently underwent a top-to-bottom retrofit, and it's cut emissions and the utility bill by 40%. Now the Empire State Building, built in 1931, will be the oldest big building in the world with a LEED rating. Once people know the facts, nobody's against this. But there are still too few non-college educated, unemployed or underemployed Americans who understand what a huge impact this could be on their future. There are still too few people that understand there are already more people working in clean energy than in traditional energy. There are still too few people who intensely believe that the consequences of climate change can be calamitous and that there are wildly profitable ways to avoid it. And that's why I tried to give some very practical suggestions today. The longer I live, the less interested I am in giving speeches, and the more interested I am in just doing one thing, just one thing that proves that you can do the right thing and earn a profit doing it, create jobs doing it, give kids a better future doing it. The American people need to know that so that the intensity of support for your work equals the intensity of those who seem to be still intent on denying its significance. This is a great time to be alive. We just have to make sure more people understand it and more people participate in it. Thank you very much.